Good afternoon. Welcome to part 2 of The Old Man in the 21st Century. Last time I talked about what I wanted this video vlog to be about, and today I want to introduce a particular product. The first thing we have to do if we want to be connected to the 21st century, we have to have a smartphone. And I don't mean a cell phone, because you can still buy simple cell phones, you can even buy flip phones, but they have no other function than to communicate with other people on mobile devices. A smartphone is much, much more than that. A smartphone is a connection to other people. A smartphone is a gaming platform. A smartphone is a calculator and computer. It will play music for you. You can watch videos. And ultimately, it's also access to the internet. It's basically a handheld device that gives you access to the sum total of the accumulated knowledge of the human race. It's something, when I graduated from high school in 1968, it's something I could not have imagined or comprehended. If somebody had told me I would have that much available to me in my hand and just walk around with it. The other thing it is a device to make pictures and videos and share them easily. Now, I'm using my laptop to make this video, but in fact, it's the last time I'll do that. I'm currently making a studio and will begin creating my videos there, because once I get into actual product demonstration and setup, I'll need a dual screen and some other things. So I'll be setting up my studio the rest of this week, and next week when I start demonstrating some things about the Fitbit, I'll be able to show those to you a little more clearly than just with this simple video. One of the things that I'll focus on for seniors in technology is what we as senior citizens should be doing. And I won't cite any specific source, because I've read so many articles and so many sources from not just the internet, but from watching TV and TED Talks and everything else, that I can't begin to give you specific videos to watch or references. It's just, I know this stuff because I've seen it so many times, and that's my reference there. If you're curious about any of these, then Google them. Inform yourself. Don't take my word for it. But anyway, most of the experts I've seen about people who are getting on in years say we have to do 3 things. And those 3 things will do more than just keep us alive and give us another 6 months, year, 5 years of life, but they will keep us vibrant, keep us involved, keep us active, and keep us relevant. And if we don't do these 3 things, we lose a lot. The first thing that senior citizens stop doing, and therefore what we need to start doing, is we have to move. Most of us are not going to be marathoners, although I know some of us are. We may not be weightlifters or bodybuilders, although I know some of us are. But for the most part, once we reach the ripe old age of 70, or we get into our 60s or so, some things are just not within the realm of possibility for us. So I'm going to try to focus on physical activities that are doable for most seniors, and not just doable, but how to do it, how to track it, how to make sure we're doing enough of it to benefit from it. So we have to move. And I've known this so long. The last 10 years I was at work, anytime one of my colleagues retired, my last words to them were always, don't forget to move. And it's because of this simple fact that we do forget. Well, we don't want to. Number two thing that senior citizens should do, and I'm going to list these three things, and throughout these video series I'll refer back to these three basic things because technology will help us do all these things. The second thing we need to do is socialize. We begin to slowly cut ourselves off from other human beings. Maybe our families have grown up and moved on to other cities, under other states, and even Scotland or France for some of us. So, but that doesn't mean we're not connected to the human race. It means we need to make our own connection. We need to be proactive and stay in touch with other human beings who have something in common with us and who are interesting to us. And my God, does technology ever do that? And I'm going to show you how it does that in many ways. The third thing senior citizens need to do, and this has been shown over and over again to stave off dementia, if not help you completely avoid it, and that is focus on mental tasks. Have something that engages your mind. And I don't know why. I used to be an avid reader. I used to read, oh my gosh, a book every 2 or 3 days, a complete book. And for some reason, I don't read nearly as much anymore. But I still need that kind of mental focus. I need to practice that kind of mental focus. And I know that. Well, technology will help us do that. We just have to sit down and find a mental task that we enjoy, that engages us and keeps us focused on a fairly complex and challenging mental task for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour at a time. Just like physical exercise, you have to do it more than just 5 minutes at a time and once every couple of days. So those three things, move, socialize, and focus on mental tasks, are going to be a recurring theme for all the things I present. All right, now let's get to the first bit of technology I'm going to introduce. Today I'm going to talk about Fitbit. Fitbit is a sports watch. This is mine. Let me see if I can get the time to come on. There it is. Of course, it's going to be upside down. But anyway, my Fitbit was my first step in not just starting to move, but finding out how much I was moving already. So now, the next thing I have to say is Fitbit is a specific brand. And I like my Fitbit, and I did quite a bit of research and finally settled on a Fitbit, although a friend of mine had bought a Fitbit, and since I was interested in staying connected to her while she was doing exercises, I was pretty much guaranteed that I would get a Fitbit. But there are many different brands out there. The first thing I'll say is once you get a smartphone, there are two basic kinds. You can get an iPhone or you can get an Android. I have an Android, and Fitbit is very comfortable with Androids. iPhones have their own entire product line, and their product line of sports watches and all the other associated paraphernalia that you can connect to with your smartphone, it's much easier and more efficient if you have an iPhone to follow their product line. Androids are a little bit more open about product lines, and I like that. And they're certainly, that means we have more options. But for the most part, from what I can tell, as hard as it is for me to say this, because I have a lot of brand loyalty to my own smartphone, Androids and iPhones are essentially the same. In a lot of cases, iPhones are more expensive, but You can buy more expensive Androids too. Now, Fitbit is the sports watch I use, and I really like it. And once I got it, here's what I started doing with it. The first thing I did, and the first thing that I accomplished with it, is I used to tell myself, I'm a teacher, but I'm really active in my classroom. I get up, I walk around, and then I walk down the hallway. I have to go almost to the other side of the building to go to the bathroom, and then the other side of the building to go see my supervisor. I have to do all these things. I'm moving all day long. So, it's not that important. I probably get a pretty good workout just from a regular day. Well, when I got the Fitbit, the first thing I did is not have a plan at all, because what I wanted to do is get a baseline. And that means find out exactly how much I was moving every day on a daily basis. And the Fitbit is set so that the automatic goal is 10,000 steps a day. And 10,000 steps, now that I look at it, can be challenging. And one thing you have to take into account once you get a baseline is if your baseline is 6,000, then you can't jump, or shouldn't even try to jump to 10,000 the very next week. Anyway, so for 1 week, you wear your Fitbit every day, and don't worry, you don't have to write it down or anything. It'll record it, and you can see your step history on your smartphone that's connected to your Fitbit, and you can see, and then it will tell you, well, these are how many steps you take per day on average. And what I found really shocked me. I was doing about 6,000 steps a day. And that's not nearly enough. That means that if I eat a regular diet, and I don't go crazy, I don't eat a lot of sweets, and I'm fairly careful, with 6,000 steps a day, I'm still going to gain weight on that. I'm going to get bigger, and I don't want to. This is not a weight program, but certainly your weight is one way to measure the direction your health is headed and your relative state of well-being. So 6,000 steps just basically isn't enough unless you really drastically reduce your calories. And I like to eat. Sorry, food is good. Well, if I want to eat more, then I have to move more. And that's a pretty simple formula. So once I found out that 6,000 was my base rate, then I had to start working up. And when I first started wearing my Fitbit, I worked up pretty quickly. I pushed myself to 8,000 a day just the first couple of weeks, because it doesn't take that much to add a few steps here and add a few steps there and walk the long way around the building to the bathroom or to the supervisor's office, whatever. So I was able to move to 8,000 steps rather quickly. It was a challenge to me to move beyond that. And so what I did is gradually move up to 9,000, 10,000, and currently I'm usually walking from 12 to 15,000 steps a day. And that's pretty good for me. I can do more if I want to. If there's, for some reason, something's come up and I feel like I want to do more exercise for a week, then I can do as many as, well, yesterday I did 18,000 steps. That's not normal for me. 12 to 15,000 is not just normal, but it's a good level to reach. Once you do that, then it's easy to maintain because it becomes a habit. You just decide, you know what, I'm going for a walk in the morning, I'm going for a walk in the afternoon, and all these other things can take a break. Now, notice this. You may have a misconception about technology and say, oh, technology means you don't have to move as much and you let the machines do everything. No, I started walking more and exercising more because of technology. It helped me get going. And it really helped because what Fitbit does, it doesn't just monitor you. It doesn't just work with you on your own step counts and everything else. Fitbit also connects you with your friends, other people with Fitbits. And that way you can just, you don't have to compete. I'm not a competitive person mostly. My wife might disagree with that. But anyway, you can connect. So right now I'm on a work week challenge with 3 of my friends from work. I retired a few months ago, but we see how many steps we're each taking. We can encourage each other on our app and do lots of things so that we stay active and get healthier instead of less healthy every day. So all of these benefits accrue just because you have a Fitbit. You don't have to have a Fitbit. It's not a necessary piece of technology, but it helps, it helps, it helps. And for some of us, any little crutch we can use to keep us moving, to keep us motivated, is a good thing. Now, a couple of disclaimers before I sign off and start preparing for actually showing a Fitbit and how it works and all that stuff. The first thing I want to say is I can't talk about technology without talking about certain specific brands. And the ones I'll talk about are the ones that I personally own and use, because brands are different. And so if I tell you about a Fitbit, you can't assume that a Garmin sports watch is going to work exactly the same or have the same features, or the iWatch or whatever it is. But the reason I use these brand names is not because I'm selling them. I make no profit. I have no connection to any of these companies. So if I use their brand name, it does work for me. And I guess you could say, in a sense, that I'm selling their products, but I'm making no profit off of that. I'm just saying this is a good product that works for me. The second thing I want to say about this caveat is these things do cost money. So for the most part, I'll be talking to people who, you don't have to be rich, you don't have to be wealthy, but you do have to have a certain level of disposable income. So if you don't have that, then maybe you can work with somebody, or you can share or whatever. But those things, I hope you can overcome. I'm going over time and I didn't want to go this long. So what I'll do is I'll sign off now and see you next week when I give you a video about how to use a Fitbit. Okay, that's it, and I hope I'll see you next week. Don't forget, subscribe, like, and share.